In my hands right now, I am holding a 50mm f1.8 lens that you can buy for just under $30. Now, how is that possible, you might say? There's no way you can buy a brand new high quality lens for $30. Well, you can't. If your budget is $30, you're not going to be getting the newest Canon cinema lenses. But you can get a lens. And for the record, it's actually a good lens. You just trade off on a few features considering it's a couple decades old. Yes, that is right. This Olympus lens right here is built in, I'm not completely sure, but I believe sometime in the 70s or 80s. And you can tell when you hold it in your hands. This lens is solid metal, except for this cap that I have on it. This is plastic. So basically, to sum it up, this video is going to be about how you can buy a cheap lens like this and still get really good results, albeit with a few trade-offs. So why don't we take a look at some test footage of what you can accomplish with this lens and the sort of look you get. Now, you'll notice right off the bat, it's more of a vintage look to the lens. It was a lens made for film cameras, but it was made for 35mm film. And if you have a full frame sensor, that sensor is 35mm, which means this lens works on your full frame sensors and your crop sensors for that matter, with the proper adapter. But essentially you get an f1.8 lens that can shoot high quality photos and videos with, might I add, a actually really nice look to it. I actually really like how this lens looks. The sort of flat quality you get to the footage looks really nice, and it actually helps with color grading later on. Now, because this lens is old and it wasn't made for digital cameras, the modern Canon EF lens mount wasn't even invented when this lens came out. So how is it that you can put a lens on it? Well, this is how. It's really that simple. This little cheap piece of metal, I bought a pack of 4 of these for like 15 bucks or something like that, because those lenses in the background are also vintage lenses with the same screw mount as this. This right here is an all metal M42 screw mount lens mount, which is great because it's actually very adaptable to just about any modern lens mount. All it takes is this little ring with the screw mount on this side and the EOS EF mount on this side. Screws on like so, and now it'll work like any EF lens you have. Now hold up. I know it sounds great, it sounds wonderful, but before you go out and buy your very own $30 lens that is older than you are, let me tell you about some of the drawbacks of buying a vintage lens. So the price is great, the quality is actually pretty good. Lenses aren't quite like technology. You can only upgrade glass so much over a few years. First of all, probably the biggest one is you don't get autofocus. You have to manually focus every shot. That means turning the ring on the front of the camera in order to pull focus and get it sharp on whatever you want to focus on and then take that picture. That is what you have to do for every single picture, which means this is probably not your best bet if you want to take action photography or sports photography, because with all that quick movement, it's really hard to pull focus correctly. I used to shoot with exclusively vintage lenses because I had a bunch of them and they were cheap. I got these ones for free. The one thing I noticed when I was shooting with manual lenses is that when I brought all my photos into Lightroom and zoomed in close on them, a lot of them I missed focus on. And I threw out probably 1/3 of the photos from every shoot I did because they were just out of focus, because I just missed. I didn't turn the dial quite enough. And that caused the photo to just not be usable. And so that's an issue you might face. Now, I think it's a lot better for video because a lot of people doing video work are manually focusing anyways, so it really doesn't make that big of a difference for them. The benefit to a new lens is you don't really have to think about the focus, it just kind of works. Speaking of manual, the other thing that is manual on this lens is the aperture. There is an aperture ring right on this lens. You can't adjust it in camera. You have to turn this metal ring to select what aperture you want, which is not the biggest deal for me. I actually don't mind doing that. It just means instead of scrolling a wheel on the back of your camera, you're twisting a wheel on your lens. Personally, what I think is if you're just starting out with photography, it's actually not a bad idea to shoot manual focus and manual aperture because it gets you to think about what you're doing. The camera just doesn't do all the work for you. You actually have to put thought and effort into every shot you take, and it helps you learn the camera. And finally, a downside to buying this lens is that you have to buy it used if you're going to buy it, which means you're probably buying it from some sketchy person on eBay that you've never met before, that has no reputation for being able to sell something of high quality, and it's overall a little bit sketchy. You have to do some more research. And once you do finally get the lens, there'll probably be some scratches on it, there'll be some dents, It might be a little bit dirty, but that's what you get from a lens that's been used for so long. And if you have thousands of dollars to spend on a lens, then this is probably not what you want. If you can afford high quality lenses and that's what you want, then go for it. But if you are more on a budget, maybe you're just experimenting and the kit lens on your camera isn't enough for you anymore, then look into some vintage lenses, and that way you can actually test out different focal lengths and different f-stops, and you can sort of get a feel for what it's like to shoot at a certain focal length, and then maybe make a decision later to buy a higher quality lens of that same focal length because now you're comfortable working in that range. So I guess conclusion then. Can you buy this lens for $30 and use it and get great results? Yeah, actually, you can, and I've done it, and plenty of other people do it all the time. And it's a great way to sort of dip your toes into the bathtub of photography. Oh, that sounded so lame. But just keep in mind, you'll have some trade-offs if you're gonna buy this lens. This lens is not the same as buying a Canon 50mm 1.8 now. But I suppose if you're looking for a robust, durable little lens that'll get the job done for not a lot of money, then this might just be the lens for you. Alright, I'm gonna end the video there. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content. You can find my website and social media links down below, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.